sit down.
Going now.
That's cool.
Yes, I'll let you know.
Thanks. Good looking business.
Meetings from 10 a.m. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this meeting of the Waipuna Halswell-Hornby-Riccarton Community Board. We start with a prayer, which will be on the screen, and I advise everybody that we're being live streamed. So live streamed on YouTube. That's both for the elected members and the public too, as well, particularly the public speaking to us. So if we could all stand, please. Right. Thank you. We now, could I have any apologies? We have none for full house of 9 people today. Second item on the agenda, declarations of interest. Is there anyone who's got an interest in any item? Thank you. Confirmation of previous minutes of the 10th of August. A correction there, that Henk Bunk declared an interest in item 10. Report with regard to applications by Hey Broomfield Community Development Trust.
So what happened there, that was my error. I recorded it as Hornby Community Trust.
That's
instead
right.
of Hey Broomfield. So just proposing to correct that error. I think Mark was going to move.
Happy to move
Yeah.
that.
So can I have it moved with that error, Mark and Debbie seconding? All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Thank you. The first part of every meeting is a public forum. We've got 3 people speaking at this public forum. One is Rodara Sagles from Birthright Canterbury. Each speaker has 5 minutes, including questions. So if you like to become to the table, and welcome. You've been here before.
Yes.
So it's up to you.
So Pina Koto Katoa, ko Rodora Sagles Toko Inua. I'm the manager for Birthright Canterbury Trust, and I came back to thank the board for the funding that you have given us. I have sent a very some photos, but in case it's not available there, I'm just gonna say so the funding that you've given us was for social worker wages. Back in April, we've spent it in the months of July and August. So during those months, we have a few activities, social activities for the parents, which we held at Phillipstown Community Hub. So single parents groups on Friday during term time, 10 to 12 a.m., 10 to 12 noon. So it's on the thing now. So they do some indoor and outdoor activities. And then we also celebrated Matariki celebration, and we had families and volunteers who did some activities, and we shared some kai and just enjoyed the whole morning. Some parents shared their talents and skills, so we had some entertainment. And another social connection we had recently was the pop-up event, which some of you have shared to your networks. So that was very successful. The children were able to learn some skills, such as customer service, handling the till, planning and organizational skills, and they've increased their connection among themselves. So now they do play dates just to share the load and to have some connection with other single parent families and their children. Community members also donated items to the event, to the pop-up event. And the really good thing also is that these children could write their experience at the pop-up event on their CV when they look for some after-school jobs or jobs later on. And they are keen to do another event in November at Phillipstown Community Hub. So the outcomes of when we submitted the funding proposal to the board, we identified a few outcomes that we wanted to get out of that project. So first outcome was 50 parents who are experiencing social isolation are home visited by the social worker and supported to create plans to reduce feelings of social isolation. So we just got the target. 50 parents were visited in the area. And then the second outcome was 30 children are supported to increase participation in after school and school holiday activities. We did very well on that, and we had 76 children recorded. So these activities included one-to-one tutoring program with a volunteer after school, participation to the pop-up shop, and school holiday outings and leadership courses. The other outcome was 10 families are referred to specialist agencies to respond to their identified needs. So we surpassed that, and we had 19 families. The last outcome that we wanted to do was 35 parents participate to activities that enhance their self-confidence and skills. So we were excellent mark on that. We had 106 parents who participated on various activities. So there's a feedback from a parent. Knowing that I have a relationship with a trusted, consistent, empathic worker make a huge difference in my life and in raising my children. So Birthright Canterbury Trust is very appreciative of the Waipuna Halswell-Hornby-Riccarton Community Board support for the contribution towards social worker wages 4,500 through the discretionary response fund received in April 2023.
Thank you.
So thank you so much.
Very much. Now you've used your time, but has anyone got one question?
Not a question, but just to comment on just thank you. It's a wonderful work. Commend you for all the work that you've done and still continue to do. And yeah, we look forward to seeing more of your accomplishments. And
thank you.
Good. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Much appreciated. Thank you. Now the next speaker, two speakers, Keegan Macklin and Holly Brown, who've been in Texas. Thank you. If you wish to come up to the front, if you want to have a presentation with you, that's fine. If you'd like to come up as well, no.
Just help here.
That's okay. Thank you. Have a chair. And if we could bring up sort of another chair, if we could. Thank you. So you've come back to tell us what happened in your competition in Texas.
Yes.
And it's about tech, is it?
Yes, robotics.
When I looked at that, I thought you were doing acrobat, but I wasn't sure. No, robotics, the tech stuff. Okay, off you go. Thank you.
Can we get the slideshow up?
still working on it.
Are we going to get to see this? Yeah, if we have time.
We'll make time.
I'll make time.
We'll make time.
We need to play.
So look,
Andre
now
needs to
who's
play.
Keegan and I had Holly Brown, but
Yes, unfortunately, Holly's
That's Keegan.
yeah,
Holly isn't here.
rolled
okay.
her ankle.
And you're
I'm Josh.
Josh and you're
Zach.
yeah, welcome. Zach, where you go?
Good afternoon. My name is Josh, and I'm part of a group of Year 10 students who all go to Hillmorton High School that banded together in a robotics club. When we first started, we had a robot called Johnny 5, but we changed him because he didn't work for a robot named Tobor. So we used these robots to participate in the VIX competition. Every year, VIX Robotics release a new challenge. So teams from all over the world work to build the best robot they can to earn as many points as possible in that challenge. So I'm the builder, Josh, in charge of designing the robot and building it. So, Zach.
This is about the aim of the game. The game that we were competing in was called VixIQ Slapshot. There are 2 robots in the game, but they are not competing against each other. Instead, we are working together to get as many points as possible. In the competition, we didn't just play with one team the whole time, but instead with differing teams from our division. We played 10 games, and our points from all the games were added up and then averaged out to give us a ranking. The top 20 teams move on, and they play off for the winners of our division, and the top 2 teams from them go through to the final against the other 7 divisions of top 10. So around about 800 teams there. Then we get 1 minute to play per game. On the left side of the screen, you can see a map of the field. There are kind of 2 parts to the field, the collecting zone on the left with the towers and the scoring zone on the right with a bar separating them. The robot cannot go past this bar and can only shoot discs under it. There are 3 types of towers. Each tower holds a number of discs and the robot has to interact differently with each type of tower to dispense the disc. Each disc out of a tower gains 1 point, and disc shot to the other side of the field will earn extra points depending on the scoring zone. There are contact bonuses earned for robots that can touch down in the expansion zone at the end of the game.
Thank you.
Do it. Just
He's
the time.
speaking for- yes.
It's good.
April 2022, we met as a team regularly to design our robots and competed in monthly local scrimmages held at Burnside High School. After each event, we would evaluate and work on our design. Our designs were performing well against local teams, and we were given the chance to participate in nationals held in Wellington in December. Nationals was the first time we'd ever seen so many teams with robots in one place. The event was amazing. It was fascinating to see how many different robots and designs. Initially, our robot looked tiny to some other machines people would build, but it felt a bit intimidating. But in the end, our robot won the Think Award for our autonomous programming, and we finished place with the qualifying for World Championships.
Thank you. Now we have some time for questions.
No, it's not finished.
Keep going,
So,
lads.
The competition was broken down into 4 days. The first day was an orientation day and the grand opening of the event, which included a parade of nations. It was awesome to represent New Zealand, and we are proud that Alina got to be the flag bearer. See a picture of her up on the screen. We also used this day to set up our pit, which was a space for us to go we did not have matches to prepare for. From the pits, we would also trade small items out as souvenirs to other teams in exchange for some swag back.
In exchange for what, sorry?
Swag,
Just
Little guys.
stuff we can trade.
Oh, okay.
Mostly
Swag.
stickers.
Oh, great, thank you.
Competition itself lasted for 2 days. We were paired with other teams to get the best score. It was a very busy time for all our drivers, since we also had to meet up with the other teams beforehand to decide strategy and practice with them. This was fun and challenged our communication skills, because not every team spoke English. We learned that we could all speak robot. In addition to the 10 matches, we also had an autonomous programming and driving skills tests to complete, and scores from these contributed to our overall placing. Autonomous means the robot is coded to automatically complete tasks and earn points without a driver. Since we did not make it to the finals, this concluded our active participation in the competition, but the next day was still very loud and exciting for all of us.
Thank you.
The fourth day included the finals and closing ceremony. The finals took place between 5 groups of 2 teams, and the team with the highest score won the event. The closing ceremony took place just after, and the reveal of the next year's game took place here. The ceremonies were in a stadium about 3 times the size of the Christchurch Arena. It was very loud with all the excitement and all the people. It was certainly an awesome experience to have been there, having competed, and to be a part of the whole thing.
Right.
Before we started our competition at Dallas, we had a day in Houston to explore NASA. During our visit at NASA, we got the opportunity to have breakfast with an astronaut, got to hear about experiences where he is today. One of the messages that stuck with me is that he applied for 7 years before to get to the NASA program before he was accepted. And then it was another 10 years before he finally went to space. During the rest of our visit, we got to see a retired spacecraft as well as many other exhibits. After the competition had concluded, we had half a day left in Dallas before we had to make a long trip back to New Zealand. For our last half day in Dallas, we decided it was time to split up to the aquarium. And the rest of us went to the 6th floor museum at Dealey Plaza. During the aquarium was a great experience, although it felt more like an indoor rainforest.
I'm going to have to ask you to actually conclude pretty quickly. Skip to the last paragraph.
Okay, the last one. Okay. This year we have graduated to the senior V5X competition, way bigger robots, obviously. Now we are building our robots with larger and more flexible components. We are competing against senior students, and we feel like we still have a lot to learn in this arena. Our experience at Worlds has inspired us to keep going with robotics, and we are enjoying the challenge of problem solving, engineering, and working in our new teams. Thank you for supporting us to get to Worlds. We had 4 months to prepare after qualifying, and have been amazed and grateful for all the help we had to get 6 of us and our teachers to Texas. It is an experience that will stay with us forever.
Well, thank you very much. I have a question from one.
Madam Chair, could I just move a very small extension of time just to see the robot in action?
Yeah. I'm sitting there.
I think everyone's sort of.
Oh, somewhere else.
Are we on track?
No, we're not.
Also,
I'll get to it.
the other ones that we're building now are a lot more impressive than this one.
This looks pretty impressive.
Bring that next time.
No,
No.
can't do that.
Can it pick up a biscuit off the?
Can't pick it up.
No.
Why are you trying,
Clapping stuff.
why are you trying to connect
It
it?
can throw
Can you
it.
talk about the components on it?
Oh, yeah.
So what have you got there? Have you got a couple of clamps
So-
there?
Yeah. This bit in the front is the main part of our robot. It is designed to take discs into it and then clap them out again to get into the scoring zones that were mentioned.
And then this thing is the extension cord thing.
Oh, there we go. There we go. This is for reaching over the fence into contact zones for a bonus. And this one is for activating some of the towers.
Yeah. So
That's weird.
the other ones are like almost 10 times as fast as this.
Yeah, we
That's
won't have
what?
a code for it, but
10 times as
That should have been a code.
No, it doesn't have the code.
Doesn't have the code. Okay.
We normally have a better code for it, which would make this run faster and most stuff do without me having to do as much work.
But yeah.
Wow. Phenomenal work, guys.
That's awesome.
Get up, little mucker. Oh, good.
Brilliant.
Well done, lads.
Thank you very much, guys. Thanks for coming in.
I think we have 3 at the table and just play with that.
Thank
Your
you.
tie line, Andre would like to have a go?
Next
Oh, yeah.
person is Elsie Street. No, I've got it. Rita Estrella, who's on Elsie Street, Horseville. Hello.
Hi,
Thank you.
good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you.
My name is Rita, and I'm with my housemate Haley over there, and we both live at Elsie Street in Cloverdale subdivision. It's a fairly new subdivision, like 3 years. We moved there in 2021, and back then it was for 2 years. We enjoyed a relatively peaceful environment, safe environment. We never had any incidents. And we were on one side of the road, and across us, Greenland Homes built 12 units of smaller houses, 3 bedrooms each with a single garage. When everybody moved in this year, like early this year, a lot of them have 4 cars, 5 cars per house. And they decided to extend their garage on the street. So most of the cars are parked on the street, not even on their driveways and not even on their garage. In fact, one of the house there would have a garage fitted out as an office, home office. So I'm here to talk about the issues. And so I think the 3rd slide, thank you. As you can see, there are parking breaches, almost like a very regular, not really every day, but you see them, once in a while. And most of them, because it's saturated of cars, they tend to park without the 1 meter distance. They sometimes park on the wrong side of the road, like the bottom photo over there. They park every night. So that's their garage. Our street is their garage. They store their cars there. Sometimes they don't leave it there without moving it. So it's just there every day because they take the bus, etc. And if you notice the corner, I wasn't able to take a photo, but the corner of Elsie Street and Cornelius, there would be full of cars there. So that's considered an intersection. So there's supposed to be 6 meters, I think, that you can't park from the intersection. So those are the safety, the hazards that are always there every day, mostly at night when everybody comes back from work. Next slide, please. And so more issues are there. As I mentioned before, there will be 4 cars belonging to one house, all parked on the street. And sometimes they would have parties. And there's a photo there, it's a bit dark, but these are guys who parked there, guests of a house there. And they were all carrying beer cans. And they walked back to their car and they were drinking the whole time. So we can, assume that they drove off, a bit intoxicated, I don't know. But it's all caught in my CCTV camera. And at the bottom, that's our guest going to that car over there, trying to park behind my car. She actually blocked the red car belonging to our guest. And so she went over there and told her off and said they kind of like had an argument. So this is common, we would argue with them like, why are you parking and blocking our driveway, etc. So that happens sometimes. So next slide, please. So as you can see, this is the kind of saturation we have in the parking. That car over there, that's where I back out every morning from my driveway. So I have to shoot my car in the single lane because there's another car parked in front of it. And so I have to shoot it like that in order to go. I'm not really a good driver, so I have cataracts because of my condition. And so it's really a struggle doing that every day going to work. And then there will be cars parked in front of that car after my driveway. So it's almost like shooting my car there. So that's a kind of situation we have along Elsie Street and the shortest street in Cloverden too. These are mostly tenant cars, I believe, because some of their houses, they rented out their rooms. So
I'm going to have to ask you to wind this up.
Okay.
Okay.
So if we
You've
skip
had
to
5
the
minutes.
solutions, next slide, please. So these are the solutions I'd like to propose. I know they will come at the cost. So the one would be the parking bay. We had that in Karamu, Longhurst, and Wigram Skies. We see that working well. So next slide, please. Reserve parking, resident only. So it has to be like, can we have the on-street parking reserved to us? So we can keep it free sometimes for guests and emergency vehicles. So we don't have that anymore. I'm afraid if there's an emergency, we won't have them parking anywhere except in our driveway. Next slide, please. I think that's the last one. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Now, I've just got time for a couple of questions. Debbie, and then
Thank you. Thank you for presenting that, which is an ongoing concern in these kind of streets. Just wondering, did you manage to call the council when that car had blocked your driveway?
I've been calling the council. I've been reporting it, step, send, and solve. And
No, but at the time, because they do come and tow them away 24/7. If you've got a car blocking your driveway, they will send a tow away company that will tow it away.
as you know, it's after hours,
Yes,
so they
but
won't.
Yes, they do. If it's blocking your driveway.
Oh, okay, because they told me to call the following day and told me at 8 o'clock, if it's still there, then they will
Yeah.
send someone.
I think I've had a similar issue, and they've said if it's blocking your driveway, they will solve the problem immediately. But if you can work your way around them, then ring the following day if it's still there. But if it's literally blocking your driveway, getting in and out, then they will remedy it. So that's worth thinking about. But going forward, I'm wondering whether or not ticks could be a solution.
yes, can we have this other question answered from Marie, and then we'll come through to what now?
Right. Can you tell us whether you've had other actions before coming to the board?
Yes.
If you've had done any other actions with council or with staff, and what was the response to that?
Yes, so I have a few complaints and mostly car breaches, but mostly at the end, I sort of like asked if we could have a solution for it. You know, can we have, for example, yellow lines, or can I have that this? Because apparently it's come to that point where it's really getting to us. We're very anxious about the situation. We have people as old as 75 years old living there and can't get out, doesn't take her car out anymore because of the situation. So she has not been mobile. So I've sent that through, and I had a reply back from Transport, and who they did a quick assessment of the area, and they said, we can't do anything because it's actually the parking situation makes it safe because it will slow down the cars going through that street. So that was the assessment. There's no need to rectify things because the cars actually slow down when they go through that kind of street because it's reduced to one lane without any space for yield. So Yeah, that's the answer I got, and that's nothing. So what I did was I escalated to the Councillor Andre.
Okay, thank you. Look, I said Andre could ask a question, but Mark had his hand up first. So Mark, has your question been answered?
I think it was pretty much answered, and it's about getting parking enforcement to help with that, and they've obviously tried.
Andre?
Yeah, I was going to point out, so the potential solutions you've raised, we don't have the ability to make parks residents only because it's a public road.
Mhm.
So it's something that can't be policed. So we don't have those abilities. The only sort of thing we can do is things like changes to markings. But I guess what I'm asking is, do you think that they potentially could be helpful, or would they, because they could also risk shifting the problem to other parts of the road where cars bunch up even more and are parked over driveways even more potentially. Debbie Marie mentioned things like ticks, potentially lines that show where cars should park,
Yes.
as opposed to yellow lines.
Yep.
Like, is there some of those? Is there something you think may be useful?
For me, I think it's just a parking bay that is most
Yeah.
useful because it'll give us back the 2 lanes.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to have the ability to do
No,
that.
it's
Is the issue?
expensive, I
So we're
know.
going to have limited options for what we
Yep.
can do, potentially with markings. I just want to know from you if you believe that we'll be able to help fix that,
Yes.
the crux of the issue.
Yep.
Well, the crux of the issue is too many cars, but
Actually,
but it's parking over the driveways. That's the main issue, right?
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
yes.
Is there anything we can
Well,
do
what
to help
compelled
prevent
me
that
to-
will be a win?
Yeah,
Yeah.
what compelled me to escalate is because
Yeah.
when somebody in council told me it's safe,
Yeah.
when my car was smashed
Yeah.
by another car from behind,
Yeah, yeah.
and I'm out of pocket of
Yeah.
10,000.
Yeah.
So there were other incidents like that. And so it has cost me already.
Yeah, yeah.
So coming here
Yeah.
for me is,
Yeah.
at least I'm going to try and,
Well, if the options are limited, is it fair to say that the priority is to prevent cars from parking over your driveway? Is it fair to say that would be the priority?
yes.
Yeah, and
that's
anything
it,
we can do that
yes.
might help with that would be the most
Behavior
useful.
change.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
But
Yep.
is that on me? Keep calling
We can.
council?
Ideally
over
not.
again?
We can-
Ideally not.
Okay, thank you. Mark, one quick
Yeah,
question.
not really a question. Could we refer this to staff to get some advice for solutions, please?
Yeah.
The problem is that I think it's been referred to staff
Well,
And-
it's harder.
and it has and
Well,
nothing.
ticks is a good solution.
Do you want us to then ask for staff advice on parking
Yep.
solutions?
Absolutely.
And just
And
keep it to parking solutions?
That-
Have they? So I'm not quite clear how to handle this. Do we want the Halswell members to speak further with?
It'd just be good to get advice on what might encourage cars to stop parking over the driveways.
Yes.
I understand, Safra already looked at it,
Yes.
but that's the priority, right? It's to stop cars over your driveway. And if there's something that may be useful for that,
Okay, well,
Totally.
it'd be worth a look.
do-
I understand they've
do
looked
that.
at potentially yellow lines, but determined that won't necessarily help or solve the issue. But if there was a way to help prevent cars going over the driveway,
we'll give
that's something. we
advice
could.
on that,
Yeah, so-
on parking, on
Over the driveways.
controlling parking over driveways.
Mm.
Yes, particularly around
Mm.
Regis House.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
That's causing them.
Just- I know that the word ticks was a foreign word for me when I first became a community board member. Are you understanding what ticks means? Okay, so it just means a white line, like a tick, which shows the distance from the driveway. You sometimes see them in streets, a
Okay,
white
clear
line
part.
saying, do not park any further than over that white line.
Yeah.
Do you feel that might
I
help?
think so. I think that will help a lot because they do park, like full on, like
Yeah.
2 cars behind.
Okay.
Look, no, that's fine. We'll get advice on that back from staff,
Mhm.
just on trying to control parking over driveways.
Yes.
Thank you for coming in, and I hope we can do something for you, actually. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Mark, yes.
could we also refer this to the subdivision design consenting people to highlight the problem that's been created here? So we can stop it happening again?
Well, it's really I kept away from my favourite subject, intensification, but it's really what happens in central Riccarton.
It's a legally built road
It's this intense
under RMA.
housing
Maybe on the
and
design standards
4
wrong.
people in one house and 4 cars.
These are
Yes,
single story properties.
The what?
These are single story properties.
Yeah.
Yes.
With 4 cars per.
Yeah.
But
So
Yeah.
yeah,
So it's certainly, it isn't just what area where it's happening in central Riccarton as well, and sort of other areas. But it's a sort of new development because of intense development. But we can't stop that, it's happened. Yeah, we can't stop the development. It's zoned for that. So yeah, okay. No,
Can we ask for an ETA on when that report might come back to us about?
3 months. It's a 3-month log of when it goes into.
Okay, lovely. Cheers. Thank you.
So I've got here, if this is what you're looking for, board request staff advice on possible means that can be implemented to deter drivers parking vehicles too close to resident driveways on Elsie Street.
Are we able to say e.g. perhaps ticks?
Well, leave it open. They can.
Leave it open.
Do you think? I mean, I can
I'd
put it
put-
in if you want.
yes,
Such as,
Just
including.
Yes, such as.
including ticks,
Yeah.
Parking.
which are the white lines.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank you.
Yeah, I know.
very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Deputations by
Oh, Rita.
Yeah, Rita's
the
here.
appointment.
What do
I can.
Thank you.
We have none. Presentation of petitions, we have none. So we're on now to staff reports. And the first one is 7 bus stops, upgrades on Hampson's Lane near Blenheim Road. It's also outside the Chinese embassy. So if you wish to come to the table,
Happy to move.
thank you.
Happy to second.
Mansell, is it? I've got the right name?
Yes.
Mansell, welcome.
Right
So
next
if you
to
take us through your,
It's been
Your
moved and
report.
seconded.
It's been moved.
who's moved it?
I've moved it.
Good, Tyler,
Tyler Harrison.
seconded Mark?
Yep.
Good. If you
Efficiency.
take us through it briefly.
Yeah, sure. Kia ora, Committee Board. So the main reason behind the proposed upgrades is a request from the owner of properties 106 and 108, which is Chinese General Consulate, saying that the bus users use its recess entrance as weather protection. Our investigation also shows that having the current line marking at these bus stop, the bus rear doors opens over a vehicle crossing, which this pose challenge to like children, old people, and disabled bus users to get access from bus to the curb. So what we propose to install a shelter at these bus stops. And also we extend the current line marking about 2 meters. So with this, we have the bus rear door to open over a standard curb. In addition to these two, we also provide some other bus stop facilities like road surface treatment, tactile pavers to improve the access for low vision and blind people. And also we consider adding a bus seat for the bus stop in front of 111 on the other side of the street, and also a rubbish bin. So these are a very brief reasoning and upgrades proposed.
Great reasoning. Happy to move on.
Well, any discussion? Fine. If you'd like to stand back from the table, Mansell.
Thank you so much for your work.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
So all those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Thank you very much.
Yes. First one down.
There you are. The next one, item 8, is curb renewal, Kissel Street and Bank Street. And I think we were having an extra street there too, weren't we, Faye?
No, there's a change to the staff recommendation, but staff will speak to that.
Okay, thank you very much.
It's regarding, I think there's 3, and I can put them up. There's 3 of the recommendations that referred to no stopping lines, where in fact they were supposed to refer to the installation of bus boxes.
So perhaps.
Do you want me to put up the?
Yes, yes, thank you.
can.
There are some minor changes, is that correct?
From the published agenda.
Thank you. Perhaps if you start off with what you hope to say to us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lauren. I'm the project manager for this project. I just wanted to make it clear, even though it's called Banks and Kissel, curb upgrades, there's also some minor works going on Kirk Road, which the work started out as it was a maintenance project. We've got deep dish channels on that area, but the opportunity is being taken to add some additional safety improvements. I understand you were briefed in August last year on this, so we're just seeking approval for it now. It's going to be constructed over summer, that's the aim, outside of this, in the school holidays, to try and avoid conflict. And also there's work going on the site at the moment in the school, so we're just trying to tie it in after that. Yeah, as you mentioned, there was an error found in the resolutions in the agenda, but we've sent through a correction for that.
Good.
So I've got those up there now. It's three, I think it's 16, 22 and 29. The changes is the same for each. It originally showed the board is approving no stopping lines, and now it's approving bus boxes.
Sorry, it's approving what?
A bus stop going in.
So it's the bus stop lines. It's the
So it says now a bus.
the bus stop is
being
actually there.
installed.
So it's the lines only.
Yes, I think it's existing bus boxes, isn't it, Lauren? The bus stop is already
The bus stop
legal,
yeah,
but
they're just
putting the lines, the markings.
Thank you. So any questions? Thank you. Tyler, then Mark, then Marie.
Based on the submissions, have there been any changes that have been amended in this plan?
Yeah, there were some submissions about parking outside the kindergarten, so we've tried to give back some of that parking. There were, what were the others?
The DPA had a couple around accessibility and mobility parking.
So initially we had a P10 outside RSA, and that was aimed to open up the parking for more people rather than currently P5 loading zone. But based on the feedback from RSA, they prefer to retain the P5 loading zone because they do have occasional requirement for so that was left there. And as Lauren mentioned, we reduced some no stopping around the kindergarten, and also provide bus stop marking on the Cooks Road bus stop. That was the three main changes, and edit some parking ticks to just a bit more orderly parking around a school frontage.
Yeah,
that's all the changes.
There are some people's a few submissions on people objecting to the parking restrictions, but we've tried to put in sort of like the minimal amount we need for safety, but to retain as much parking as we can. So those were installed to increase the sight lines for pedestrians crossing the road so they can see if cars are coming.
And those decisions, I'm going to get a little bit nitty-gritty here, but are they based off that initiative, that no parking initiative, or that initiative where the parking warden went through those no stopping zones outside schools? I think Tipperton was one of them. There was another one on Banks Ave. Have you heard of those initiatives before? Okay. There was an initiative essentially that had parking wardens outside schools to make schools safer for children. I was wondering if this was based off of that.
The parking tick was definitely with inputs from parking enforcement team. Suggest that parking ticks will definitely help their jobs. Yeah, they do have to go out and police it. Yeah.
Okay. And last question from me is, I might have missed the reading around. I'm not sure if Nick Pratt gave I couldn't find it. What does the school think about it as a whole? Are they okay with everything?
From what I understand, they're happy, they've been consulted in person and they're happy with the changes.
Okay, sweet, cool.
Thank you. I've put Debbie down. Next is Mark.
Thank you. I was just wanting to look at 0.6.6 in the report where 6 submitters were not supporting the no parking lines. And I've heard you say in answer to the previous questioning that you've reduced the no stopping lines to sort of the bare minimum. Is there any possibility of changing the no stopping lines to time restricted around school times? I'm thinking like the school's only there for what, 40 weeks of the year, but we're restricting the parking for 365 days of the year. And obviously the residents are quite perturbed at the idea of losing their parking at all times.
Yeah, so those no stopping to predominantly around intersection. They were aimed, I guess, to protect those sight lines for that we actually introduced pedestrian crossing across Kirks Road as well as Banks Ave. So they're there to protect those pedestrians to be able to use it all the time. And also those no stopping are also keep the traffic movement at the intersection. Yeah, because that's why I noticed that the parking, they do park quite close to intersection currently with the school parking. So this is just to maintain traffic movement, especially for emergency vehicles as well.
Yeah, and I think being a bus route, I think there were some of the turning movements at the intersections with buses were a little bit tricky. So
yeah, the bus
vehicles are parked there.
Yeah. So as far as the no stopping reduction at Kidsworth, again, because there was only one, we're allowing only one crossing point there because of the bus turning movement. The bus actually turned right from Banks Ave into Kersal Street. So it's probably not ideal having pedestrian crossing at that sort of approach. So that was, we're just allowing for one crossing across Bank Street on the far side. And the no stopping would be required for oncoming traffic to be able to see clearly. So this is, we sort of, I guess, we able to sort of, just provide a couple parking back, not too many. Yeah.
It's a bit of a balancing act, isn't it?
And one last follow-up. When this, I think, came to us for a briefing, and maybe in a previous decision, there was the second bus stop down Kissel Street on the western side. Is there still a bus stop there, or is that now disappeared?
I understand that bus stop approval didn't go through at the time. That was prior to election. So, and we basically haven't operated,
So there's no thought to try and re-land that somewhere?
Not at the moment. With the traffic operation staff, they might want to consider.
I'm sorry, before you decide, I was also going to make you aware that I think there's another project that you guys have been briefed on to do with variables speed limits around schools, and there's one in Templeton. The intention is to install these signs at the same time.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Marie?
Oh, right. You said there were amendments to recommendations 16, 22, and 29, but these are not all about bus stop markings. Can you just take us through, like, recommendation number 16? What is the amendment in 16? Number 16.
Yeah, so the amendment is, so it's highlighted on the board. Yeah. It previously said.
Number 16 first.
Well, okay, that was the same. It previously said that no stopping lines be inserted, whatever the words were, on the eastern side, but it should have read that a bus stop be installed at that point. So that was just referred to no stopping lines instead of the installation of the bus stop. So that's only changed. The location is exactly the same.
Right. And number 22 and 29 are the same?
They're all the same.
They're all the same
change.
Oh,
Okay.
all right. And one last.
Sure.
In paragraph 8.2, you mentioned that the proposal has exceeded the available budget. I've just wondered what made it blow the budget. What happened?
I'm not sure. I'm relatively new to the project. It could be time delay because it was originally supposed to happen earlier, but there's been a lot of work going on, like water.
Yes, thank you for that. I'm just wondering, have you received feedback from Kids First Kindergarten, Templeton?
Yes.
And how are they?
I think unfortunately the engagement person couldn't come, but from what I understand, they were pleased that we could retain some more of their parking.
Okay.
I'm sure they'd love to have more there, but
Yeah.
they were satisfied with what we've come up with.
And do they have off-street movement for drop-off and pick-up?
We have a couple of off-street parkings, but might not be about 2 or 3 in one mobility one, so probably might not be enough for them. Yeah, they do have a few. I'm not sure whether they were staff parking. Yeah.
So they were okay, supportive?
Yeah, well, they weren't unsupportive.
Okay.
They were pleased with the result, that they managed to get some more parking back.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So is anyone wanting to move the resolution? The resolutions?
Right, you
I'll move them then.
you're not sure?
Seconder?
I'm happy to, but.
Okay. Well,
I
I'll
just want to
move
know that from Mark.
Tyler second.
Reluctant.
If you wish to stand back from the table, thank
So
you
much.
for your presentation.
Yeah, I am too.
Thank you indeed.
I talked to Nick, he was
I mean,
happy with the safety improvements. Yeah.
So,
Parking.
you can do
Parking's a tricky one.
so it's definitely on the table. Does anyone want to debate it, Mark?
Yeah, I'll speak to it. I'm really happy to see safety improvements and renewals of the curbs. These deep dish channels have well and truly outlived their lives. And yeah, we've got a huge challenge around the city to try and get on top of that situation. But the one thing that I'm a little bit just concerned about is the imposition of so many no stopping lines on the community 24/7, 365 days of the year. We've got clear feedback here from the community saying, please don't do it with permanent no stopping lines. They're saying, please, can we find a way to do it as time limited around school times? And I'm kind of hearing that we don't have an option to do that, but I would have liked us to have found a way to explore that further and see if there was a way to placate the community at the same time as keeping the children safe when they're being dropped off and picked up. So I'm in two minds at the moment as to whether I can support this or not. So
do we have an option to do nothing?
Okay, thank you. We'll Henk.
I support Mark in this. I think it's a tough call on the residents to have 2 weeks or 6 weeks of holidays, no kids in sight and no parking allowed. Weekends, no kids, no parking. Nighttime, no kids, no parking. So that the kids can move twice a day in safety. And I'm not against keeping kids safe. Okay, I'm all for that. But I think, I think it needs further looking at, because I do think that a shorter time of no parking or a pick up and drop off time would perhaps be more suited to this than what this solution is.
Thank you.
I'd find it difficult to
support this one. We can actually, in Riccarton Round University, we've got 9 to 6, Monday to Friday, and university timetable. So it's freer during the summer period. So we could look at that. Perhaps if I could call the staff back.
Can I just comment on what you've just said, Helen? If we're going to limit it to half an hour, pick up, drop off, if anybody complains about anybody, it'll take longer than that for traffic
to get there.
Yeah. So that's just worth considering.
Okay.
The school days.
Thank you. Are we, a question I've got, are we able?
Are we back to questions?
Oh, sorry.
So you're coming off standing orders? Or? Yeah, yes.
Yes. Question. No?
Is there there needs to be a vote, right?
Can I move that we put aside standing orders to?
We just been standing orders, seconder?
Yes.
Thank you. Tyler? Okay. So we've moved out of
need to vote on it.
formal standing orders. So I'll put that resolution.
we
We're
need to vote
moving
on it, Helen.
aside from standing orders. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against?
Yep.
Carried. So the question is, could we go to what happens at the university, 9 to 6, Monday to Friday?
9 to 6 what though?
9 to 6, parking restrictions. 9 to 6. Is the question?
That's still a lot of the day taken up.
I think for clarity, Helen, I think just to put everyone's minds at ease, you're talking about the no stopping areas around these intersections, right?
Yeah.
These T intersections, what we've got here.
Yeah.
So everything else is parking along the curb line.
Yeah.
Cool. They're only extended how many meters along those curb lines here than the normal regular 6 meter rule that we usually have?
Yeah, they're more than
the 6 meter
6 meters.
for sight lines for children to cross, right?
Yeah, that if you, for those
Sure,
people
school
standing at the
hours.
crossing, they need to be able to see oncoming traffic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Especially more so if they're crossing from one side, to be able to see the traffic that's approaching their side, then
Yep.
more sight line, more so than
Of course. So it's not just beneficial for kids, it's beneficial
for pedestrian and also
for accessibility,
Yeah.
things like that.
and there's also bus stop. I forgot to mention the bus stop. These crossing point will actually support bus patron crossing the road as well, because they actually bus stop around those locations.
Okay. And for Mark's peace of mind, how many car parks equivalent would we have been taken up from those no stopping restrictions? Because I get where it's coming from.
6 meters, isn't it? So.
Yeah, I probably can't wait.
Approximately.
Oh, are we talking about specific?
So those no stopping lines that are extended, so we have this one here, within the regular,
There's probably, say, 2 outside 29.
You wouldn't really need it.
Yeah, but
With the bus code, you still need to have no stopping lines in
To
advance
access.
to give
Yeah.
a driver the ability to get in and out. So you
So
wouldn't-
nothing on that side.
that's why they were kept around those intersections. Just try to keep the road space clear
Yeah.
from,
Yeah.
for bus movement, for traffic movement. Yeah,
so you'd approximate maximum 5, if anything.
about 5 each. Yeah, each
Half the
intersection.
area.
And I
Okay.
think wasn't there a study or there are parking observations, and outside the school time, it's a quiet street. There's very little parking.
Outside those
Yeah.
school hours. Yeah. So I couldn't. Yeah, so it won't be 5 over the whole project. So it'll be. Yeah, I just couldn't quite give you the exact answer.
That's fine. Approximation's fine. I just wanted to just help my colleagues be at ease a little bit.
The parking demand is low outside the school pickup drop off.
Yeah.
Sarah, Debbie was first actually, so Debbie, then next Sarah.
So primarily this has come about because of the schools.
It started out as a curb replacement maintenance, because the maintenance on it's becoming quite
Yeah,
expensive.
sure.
but it's-
Sorry, I probably meant the yellow lines. That's
That's more just because we're providing cut downs. It's also for bus accessibility.
right.
So it allows people to cross the road easily.
Okay.
But the school and accessibility to public transport.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah?
So just to clarify, so there might be some residents that visitors might have been able to park outside of their properties, perhaps 2 properties, and that now might have to park outside the next property. And given that there's, it's a quiet street to begin with, but we gain the benefit of having safe pedestrian access for children and other pedestrians. That's the intended outcome
Yeah.
of all of this.
Yeah, and it's not a high density area. Most people have their own driveways and garages and
Yeah.
they can park their cars. So.
Yeah, that clarifies. Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions of staff? Thank you. I'll ask you to stand back, please, again. Thank you. Thank you for your time. And we're still outside standing orders. I think we'll stay outside standing order to see if there's a way through this. Has anyone got a way through this?
We can.
I'm relaxed. Just put it on the table as something to start with. So I'm relaxed if you don't wish to proceed with it. or want to make changes.
What pages is the options on?
I mean, there's one submission here that sticks in my head. It's to do with a household that have mobility issues, and we're putting yellow lines outside their house. And you know, when you've got a mobility issue and you can't park outside your house, that is a little bit of an issue. So,
Does it say which number?
Submission number
No, the
47404.
But they would be able to park next door, is that correct?
They got
Depends on which
mobility.
house
isn't
They
it?
don't identify what house,
Yeah.
it's been blanked out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that to me is a bit of an issue. But I guess there's nothing we can do about it, so we just got to go ahead and accept what's being done and weather the frustration of the community.
We can leave it on, in fact, the table if you wish to.
That's not going to solve it, though, is it?
It won't solve it,
Won't
but
achieve
it gives people a bit of time to
Unless we,
reflect.
is there the opportunity for some further work to be done with those particular residents that have got that mobility issue with the parking?
We could move that if you want to. We could put a time restraint on it. Would that work?
How charged up is your iPad?
I don't know.
I don't. So we're stuck, aren't we?
Or you could run a vote and just see how the numbers go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you ask?
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
If you would like to see if you've spoken to the person with.
Well, no, we have. It's not actually the resident who had the mobility issues, it's her mother-in-law who doesn't live in Templeton.
I see. So she comes and visits.
She comes and visits, but she doesn't, it's not the resident who.
Okay.
I'm just curious.
So I think, Sarah, go ahead.
With that property, I'm just curious because like most of the markings are around the intersections. There's one little part that's outside the Kids First. From what I can see in this diagram, there may be a couple of meters difference for this particular person.
And the distance of that would be on my.
Yeah. Can you confirm that there's the extra distance of this mobility, a person with mobility issues would need to?
So you're asking, worst case scenario, they'd have to park several metres away from where.
Well, I just
they
want
live on the street
clarification that
currently.
that's, yeah.
Yeah, as opposed to down the street.
Yeah.
Issue relating to the resident at 23. So you can see their gates is there, and the next car park is a little bit further up. So I guess the distance for the next available part is actually not that
Provide the
far.
parks available.
Yeah, it's quite close to the gates as well.
Provided parks available though. If the park's not available, then.
Where are we looking
here?
Is it there?
So the Hornby people.
Yeah, so that was I think we call that was the resident.
Anyway, through this.
That's
Oh, wait,
specific.
that's Kirk Road.
I think
Kirk
it's
Road.
right.
yeah.
Of course, it's 23.
I don't.
Okay, so in that case,
Okay.
it is an issue for that resident because there is nothing along that block.
The other issue thing along there is a fire hydrant, so we needed to put no stopping lines in there anyway.
Because there's a fire hydrant.
Yeah.
There's a fire hydrant outside 23.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But we don't have yellow lines by all fire hydrants.
You've got the luxury of doing yes.
I guess
I'm
the
just-
question is, do we?
I'm just thinking, because we're still out of standing orders,
Yeah.
the Cook Road number 23 there, are we not setting a precedence with the yellow lines down there, the side of 23, 21, 25, because there's many intersections like that I could list you about 100 where we could do with yellow lines there at the tip of an intersection. Sorry?
No, go.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking, is this not setting a precedence, if not already, yellow lining that side of Kirk Road? I know, I understand the need for it, but then we'll be emailing you 100 others like that. It's just a matter of people being careful with so many others intersections. Welcome, Andrew.
Andrew, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. I've had very limited involvement with this project.
Yeah.
just at the very end, as May was presenting it. I can answer the question regarding that you raised about, about, you're quite right. There are many situations where, say, stop controls could be installed or giveaways or no stopping. And typically they're only installed where there is a problem that eventuates or through a location for best practice where it's generally accepted that there would be a risk or a problem. So things like pedestrian crossings, or we've got high volumes and turning movements where and where someone would be expected to regularly park and cause issues. I'm unfamiliar with the particular site we're talking about, but with the mobility issues. But I just wonder if there is options for actually parking up the driveway at that property, because I know many of those properties do have quite considerable off-street parking compared to other locations around town. But I'm not aware of those circumstances, unfortunately.
Okay, so can you see a way through this, Andrew? Because we have concerns. Some people have concerns.
What would the actual implications of not having yellow lines outside of just 23B?
Just of not having the outside.
Yeah, purely that part right there.
Yeah. Well,
if there weren't yellow lines there, what would the?
We are putting a crossing, a cut down on Kirk Road, very close to it. And so if you have a vehicle parked there, then people might not be able to see down the road and step out.
And that's so often is all over the city, especially around Wigram and Hallswell.
There's speeders on Cook Road frequently because the road is so big.
Oh, true.
Okay.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
It does.
So any other questions of staff? Because I'm going to move back.
That's why I'm confident.
Standing order.
Yeah. I think that's really important to remember.
Is it essential to have yellow lines at fire hydrants anyway?
No,
you can't park on a fire.
I can't say they're typically only marked where there is a problem or they're it's not usually yellow lines. It's actually the circle and the
a problem as in reoccurring parking over the
yes,
and would the idea of having a time frame on it be appropriate?
In my view, Madam Chair, no, because typically there is activity throughout the day and weekends in the street, and all would happen would be you could have an event on at the RSA or after school activities, the school hall or something being hired out. And also I've seen that time limited restrictions for no stopping aren't the best adhered to.
That's right.
And some of them, if I give an example, would be Arthur Street, places like that, where in fact, the no stopping lines being permanent are probably adhered to a more easily understood way.
Okay.
What's the current speed limit down there? Is it 50?
But there'll be the variable speeds, I guess, on schools.
Yes, that's the plans that I've got here. We'll go down to 30.
Yeah, during supply.
Yeah,
it's 40, is it?
Just down Bank Street.
Yeah.
I think it's Kirk Road as well.
Can I ask when the speed limits are going back?
The time of day?
No, the actual month.
Till 30. 30.
No, sorry, when are the speed limits dropping to 30?
Oh,
most of the works are done.
This isn't my project. I was just asked to present this.
Yes.
So the signs and everything will be installed at the same time as this, but I don't know when they become active.
They're already approved, I think. So as part of the safe speeds.
Yeah.
I'll ask staff, thank you, to be moved back to standing orders. Have I got a second for that?
Yep.
Mark, thank you. So I moved and Mark seconded. So now we've got a formal motion on the table that I feel half-hearted about in view of the conversation. So does anyone want to move an alternative motion? No? Okay, so we've got a motion on the table, which is the staff recommendations with the changes made. So I put that to the board. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you very much, staff.
Thank you.
We've got there in the end. Thank you. It's the most half-hearted resolution I've come across. Thank you.
Were you wanting to move Noodland Way?
Yes, happy to move.
I'll second.
Thank you. Just getting there.
Are we back into,
Standing orders.
yeah,
We're through
So
to,
we just-
yeah, Andre's moved, I've seconded Noodland
okay,
Way.
which number, Deb? Noodland
Nine.
Way?
Number 9,
9. Noodland Way?
yeah,
Go. A proposed no stopping
Backwards.
yeah.
restrictions moved Debbie.
No, moved Andre,
Andre,
moved Andre, Debbie
Yes.
second.
do staff want to add
Yes, I do.
anything there? No, I'll put the resolution. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Thank you. Now, number 10, summer with your neighbours.
Moving it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Thank you.
That's good job, Andy.
Thank you.
I have added an addition to that.
Yes.
I've circulated it.
Oh, I've missed it.
Tyler, that's decided centrally as opposed to by our.
No,
Isn't it?
there's delegations that we can do at the board level. We'll get advice about it.
Okay, so
Because I did get told that, but then there's other advice.
Okay, cool.
okay, so basically something with your neighbours. Noella, if you'd like to come to the table, perhaps if you take us through it, then we'll move the actual resolution. Then in fact, there's an addition, I think, coming from Tyler. So yes, if you take us through this.
Sure, kia ora everyone. So we've got 33 applications to the Summer with Your Neighbours Fund for this year. So they're from both individuals and groups. A range of events, so we've got community barbecues, Christmas get-togethers, potato judging competition. So yeah, so it's just for guys to decide on allocating the funds. So there's 13 new applications this year, or from new applicants, which is great to see across the ward area. So
Okay, thank you. Just questions, Andre, then Mark, and then myself. Thank you.
Just roughly, is the total number of applications about on par with previous years or a bit more, a bit less?
it's about the same.
About the same.
So last year was 31.
Nice one, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mark?
Are we using this program to encourage the applicants to partner up with the likes of the neighbourhood support people to help sort of build some of those neighbourhood networks?
So they received the information, but yeah, that's quite good. We could also connect them in with neighbourhood support
Yeah,
to
I'm
be
sure
involved. Yeah.
Murray would certainly appreciate that, I'm sure.
Yep.
Okay. And it's just for new elected members, you're very welcome to attend these events. If in fact you wish to. My experience is people are quite pleased if you pop in for half an hour. And so they get to know you as well as you get to know them. But the main purpose is for neighbours to actually meet. So, Noella, unless there's any further questions.
I'll move.
Move Debbie's seconded Mark.
That addition.
Oh, that's right.
I'll ask.
If you can retract it. Yeah.
Please,
Yeah.
I'll retract it. So the question is, or the extra.
I've circulated it, so maybe you might want to bring it up.
Yes, thank you.
I can talk on it quickly.
Yes, please.
So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because when I was in Selwyn, it ran through the whole time during summer. So people could proactively do it within a week or two. They just have to put an application. Staff put in a purchase order, or they can pay back whatever they've spent money on. And I administered an initiative called Meet Your Street, which is exactly the same as this. For them, it goes up to $75. This one's a bit bigger. And I see here in point 4, it says delegates authority to the manager of community governance to make decisions for late applications. Ideally, it would be great if she could make delegation throughout through the whole thing, because we have another fund that's similar to this, where she makes delegations by herself up to $450. Am I correct? And it was the last decision we made. I can't
Was it
recall exactly what
300?
it
Was it 300?
350.
So I found no sense in us having to take it off. It's great that we know it. It's great that we see it. But for me, I wanted to
just get it more cleaner and just get staff to administer it and give us a little update on who's applied, what they've been getting, and so forth.
So you're wanting to add something on this resolution?
Yes, so I'll read it out.
Thank you.
Staff assess the feasibility of extending the Summer with Your Neighbours funding period through the mid-December, because there's Christmas break, including options on having staff full delegation to this fund. This extension is intended to provide our community with additional opportunities to host events during the FY 24-25 summer period and beyond, until funding is spent in full, noting that staff will provide advice during our board funding deliberations prior to 24-25 FY. So I'm not putting a time limit on it. I just know that we're going to talk about this during our delegations for our funding pots in the next year, but it gives staff a heads up to say, I would like to see that option put on the table and just noting it. So it's not necessarily adding a timeline to it over the next 2 weeks.
So you're talking about the following financial year?
Yes,
24,
yeah,
25.
I'm not going to do it this year.
No, and it's assessing the feasibility of doing it, so it's investigating.
Okay.
Yeah, I did get told it's a metro thing, but there is ways that we might be able to leverage at a community board level, which I'd love to see.
It's too late.
And yeah, see how we go. So
Do we need the formal board request?
I think I'll get a question from Deb and then Andre, and then we'll go back to how to actually do this.
I'm just wondering, is each applicant limited to a sum of money? It's just that they're all similarly on par.
Ask Noella, would you? I think
Sorry.
there's a limited amount of money.
So there's a citywide formula depending on attendance numbers, and then there's also a maximum amount of $200.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yep.
So,
yep. That answers my question in regards to what Tyler's wanting to introduce.
Yeah.
So it's a minimal amount.
yeah, and the issue I've got is the applications close in August.
Yeah.
For 3 months in advance. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
And if someone wants to have a barbecue in December, they can go to
Yes. Yeah.
but it would be good if it was just open until say December
Agree.
15th, the winter stuff.
Agree.
Get off work.
Yeah.
Sounds fine to me.
Just cleaning up policy, in my opinion.
Move and second that.
Yeah, included in the resolution. Yeah.
Okay. So have you asked your questions of Noella? I'll ask you to stand back.
Oh, sorry. Oh, my apologies. I just wanted
Very
to
much.
advise the amendment. Are you okay with this? You're great.
That's good.
It's good.
Good work, councillor.
It's fine, thank you. So we'll actually move the first resolution, which is the one in front of you. Just trying to find it.
No, we'll move it all as one.
Move it all as one.
I'd rather do it separately, actually. So I'll move the officer's recommendation. It allocates its Summer with Your Neighbours 2023-24 fund as follows. Who's moved that?
Yep.
Kamal and
No.
Debbie and me.
Debbie and Mark.
Debbie and Mark. Good, thank you. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Now we've got Tyler's resolution, which
No, that's now been moved by Debbie and Mark also.
Debbie and Mark also. Okay, we've got two.
Just as well I'm happy
get it
with it,
through.
eh?
Is everyone clear about Tyler's?
Yep.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Very
So
good.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried.
Good work, team.
Right, good.
Yep. Great.
Thank you.
Be home for the news.
Get home for Sunday.
Just going on now to our discretionary responses from Noella, please. Oh, Bailey, thank you. So we'll take these out. If you go through these three items, and then we'll take them together, I think, unless someone wants them separately. Thank you.
I'll just open up for questions if there are any.
I was happy to move.
I'm happy to second.
As a group?
Yeah.
Okay.
One question.
So Andre's moved, Debbie seconded.
Mark's got a question.
Mark's got a question, yeah.
Tyler and I have both been and met with Kerry Ewing. And I guess you've spoken to Kerry as well. Was there a reason that the only $1,000 for the Hornby Youth Voice? Because it seemed like an absolutely amazing initiative.
Yeah, so there's two things that we can't fund. So one of them in the budget was for wages, which we already fund through SCF. Let me just pull up the matrix. And then the other, which I actually see hasn't pulled through. So there's you'll see the budget that's in the matrix doesn't add up to the full amount I've requested. So there was $800 for gift vouchers. Some of this work has also already been done. So they've gone out and done the surveys that at the reporting stage. So we're really looking to support the events and the putting the report together. Yeah.
Yep, good.
Great, thank you.
Any further questions? I think, so if you'd like to, Taylor Bailey, and thank you. So I'll move them, no, I'm not moving them, I'll put the actual motion.
Andre moved it. No.
Andre moved and seconded. Debbie, was it?
Yeah, Andre and Debbie.
Debbie, thank you. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. So now we're on to our board report. Jess, are you wanting to take it from here or go to the end of the table? Which would you prefer?
Happy to take the report as read.
As read, okay.
Happy to move.
So, mover,
Nice,
Andre,
Nice.
seconded. Oh, sorry, Sarah, seconded Sarah. Okay, any questions, Mark, or comments?
Yeah, I was just like to say well done to everyone for getting that seat. The wig room there, that's great.
What's that?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the one, yeah, that didn't take long to come
Amazing how
around.
quick that got done.
Yeah,
Good
that's
work.
awesome.
Andre.
Yes. Oh, they asked if it might be there before Christmas. I said, look, we're going to see what happens. It's been there well before Christmas. I'm told that there is often a queue for the seat. It is in hot demand.
They need
It's
another
been
one.
well used. And it's been very, very well received and much appreciated. So I thank all involved for getting it done really quite quickly. It popped
What was
up
the cost
very
of it?
quickly.
It's excellent.
What was that? Sorry, Debbie?
No, I know.
Costs.
What was the cost of it? Just as
Priceless.
Yeah,
No, I know, but
They were able to locate a seat that was somewhere
yeah.
and go and erect the thing.
Yeah.
So,
Don't ask questions, just get it.
That's good. But that's why I asked, because I thought it didn't look brand new.
They probably nicked it from down the road.
Yeah. Pinched it from Hornby.
Okay, any other comment or question?
Doesn't say what the price was.
Okay, so I'll put that report. Who's moved it today?
Andre and Sarah.
Andre and Sarah. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried.
Oh,
Well,
done.
thank you.
Easy.
So we're moving on now to
Yes.
let's get
Elected members.
the elected members information exchange. So we've had a lot going on. So I guess I might start with Tyler, and then because there's a big effort that he made, which went very well, I might talk about the meeting on Monday, and then we'll go for other people on action points and concept. Yes. So Tyler, starting with you.
Just press the button. Since our last meeting, there's been actually a downturn in people requesting services from me. So it's been great. So that must mean things are getting actioned. There was one issue on Clarence Street, which has since been solved and resolved around communication around works. Whanganui Road is still an issue, and it continues to be one around the quality of the road, particularly around just Three Waters doing their remediation works. We still are waiting for that in transport. The transport unit is still talking to Three Waters about that, but it's continually being a process that I haven't been liking very much. That is the one road in the Riccarton ward that is the worst by far. And the good stuff is the initiative that I was talking about since October, the Riccarton Collective, popped off on Tuesday. And we had some board members there. Appreciate you guys coming. Thank you very much. And it was very, very well received. I had some emails saying how good it was. And they said we need them more often. We had people from all walks of life and all different communities come together and talk and brainstorm. And there were hundreds of post-it notes, thanks to staff for sorting those out. So
I'm looking forward to seeing what the feedback is from what they want. I did have 4 questions to them, and some of them were open-ended, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the feedback is in that regard. But whole and whole, they really, really enjoyed the event, and I'm looking forward to seeing where we go from here. There were some ideas around advocacy, around activating spaces, around doing the small wins, which was really cool to see. And obviously talking about the state of their award. So I appreciate staff so much for everything you've done in helping me out.
Very good.
And you've really helped me really click into the ward, and all of us click into this ward, which has needed it for so long. So thank you, staff, for so much for all the work you've done. It means a lot.
Good. Thank you.
It went so well that I really want to look at doing that in Hornby, because that is so good.
Great.
Thank you. I'd just like to talk about a meeting on Monday. It was run by the planning staff and chaired by Jess. So it was a staff organised meeting on from a request by a Riccarton residents a association. It was to give people the understanding of what's there in section 42 report. Now I can go over what's public. In the section 42 report, which a council always does on a district plan, it has changed some of the height limits of the heights in Riccarton and Hornby and the potential heights in Horswell, going from 6 stories to 10 stories. That was obviously of concern to people. And probably the surprising thing that people were taken back by is that in the district plan, as far as I understand it, we were looking at 2050. As the draft went out, they're now looking at a 130-year timeframe. So there's some real concern as to whether that's too far. But and it was invitations by staff. So for those an invitation to each councillor of the board and each chairperson. So if you weren't invited, that was because the invitation was only to certain people, and it was held in this room. So it was held because of numbers, and it was purely run by staff. John Higgins and Mark Stevenson were the ones who led the discussion and answered questions. And you're probably aware, but you may not be, that councillors can't take part in any discussion going forward. They can hear concerns, they can hear comments, but they can't respond. Otherwise, they won't be able to take part in the major paper going to council from the Independent Hearings Panel in April 2024. So if your councillor is quiet on this subject, it's been what's been determined, and I think it's correct legally. So I'll just mention that. If anyone's got any comments or questions, they can perhaps ask me afterwards. But to make you aware, there was a meeting in this boardroom, and there is concern from residents groups. Okay, so that's on that meeting. So we'll go around as people want to ask or make comments on what's happened in their ward, and perhaps have at the most two action points, because this is the point you can ask for action on certain issues if you want. Marie.
Yeah, I've got one for action point. I just had a chat with Andrew, and he agrees he'll be willing to look at it. So it's along Packard Crescent behind the Longhurst Health Medical Center, because the roads there, there's always parking on both sides of the road, and then at the bend. So when there's one yellow line which was short and across the road, but if you're approaching the bend, you can't see the approaching car on the other direction. So it's a line of sight issue as well. So if we could ask, staff to look into that by extending the yellow line in the inner bend of Packard Crescent.
So investigate parking congestion on Packard Crescent, and possibility for extension of no stopping.
It's fine, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, there's no action point, but just it could become one. In the last 6 weeks or so, one of the main suppliers of our food bank food have decided to start charging because their funding has dropped back a bit, quite a bit, which is going to affect a multitude of our people. Now, we can talk forever about the need for food, but it's good to keep it out of the. It's good to keep the food out of the landfill, apart from anything else. And a lot of people really rely on it. We're a very small player, but for all that, if we had to pay their charges, and they say they're not charging for the food, they're charging for the supply of the food, there to cover their costs, it'd be about $400 a week to keep up our present level, which is about $20,000 a year.
Is that just to you?
No, that's
to all food banks.
That's what. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not all food banks. It's good.
Majority.
Yeah. Yeah.
Has that come from? Sorry, the question, but there's someone at Tyler's meeting the other night talked about the cut in a food bank. Is that the same one? Or
Yes, it's the same one.
So is it cut by council, cut by central government? Where's the cut come from?
I don't. I'm told it's by council, but I can't guarantee it. I don't know.
I can talk to everyone offline about
it. That's a political question I don't want to get into.
Okay.
I'm interested. I only mention it because it's actually going to affect all of us. It affects the people at the bottom more than the people anywhere else. But in the end, there's a group of people, a large group of people, who find it really hard to make ends meet, and they rely on handouts. Just in New Zealand today.
Can we take this conversation offline, because there is quite a backstory to this?
Okay. Yeah, we can do that. That's good.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you for that, because I was surprised when this man stood up and said there'd been a cutback. Sorry, it's at the collective.
Yeah.
He's in Basin Riccarton, I thought. But,
yeah.
Okay. It seems to be the worst possible time.
Yes, it's a size problem.
Okay, thank you. Andre and Mark.
Thank you. Just first, apologies, I should have raised this on the area report. Just on the Whitburn Ave Collie Drive intersection, which reads that no crashes have been recorded at the intersection. I'm assuming this was written before there was a crash recently. So it'd just be good to clarify that.
It could have been, Andre, because these are approved.
Yeah, it must have been.
A while before.
I guess my concern is this. It hasn't been open for long and there's already been a crash. So it seems likely there will be more. It'd just be good to get advice back in light of there being a crash. And as residents have told me, it's just, they believe it is purely down to the lack of visibility of it being a giveaway sign. Even though there is a giveaway sign there, it is quite a wide part of the road. But yeah, it'd be good to find out what the cause of that crash was, and if that was indeed due to visibility of the giveaway sign. If it was, then the resident's got a pretty good point.
So perhaps that's an action point.
Yeah.
Well, I think there is an action point already in play, isn't there?
Well,
that intersection.
Well, no, we've got the advice back, and it says they'll continue to monitor crash data, but but presumably there will now be new data to look at because there's been an accident.
So I guess it's the check. Has it been reported? And
well, there's a fire truck there, so I can only assume it's been reported. Thank you. Just one further action point. Street lights on Murphy's Road. They stop as you approach Seven Oaks School. So where the houses stop, but there's a Seven Oaks School, and then there's the reserve, and it's obviously very, very, very dark. Just the residents asked a question if there would be plans to continue the street lights along the rest of Murphy's Road. Is that potentially already a plan? because Quaifs Road is all, getting filled in. It's going to be a high pedestrian use area between Quaifs Road and indeed down the area of Murphy's Road. So it is a safety concern to have a chunk of the area without a street light. So the question is it already planned as development takes place around the area?
Thank you.
And just information, we've got the report back. We asked for advice on sort of the future of traffic movements around the southern Halswell area, around the Quaifs Wincops Road. It may be that it's actually quite useful for someone at Selwyn District Council to come and speak to us about this. It'd be good to get a clear idea on what their plans are for where they are planning to sort of direct and send traffic our way. I'd suggested to the Residents Association we should get someone from Selwyn Council to come speak to them. Potentially a briefing to us could be useful as well, but hold fire on that for now, I think. So purely information.
Thank you.
Can I just add
Yeah.
on to
Yes,
that,
thank you.
what Andre just mentioned, because I remember there was a briefing before by council planning staff about the growth in Selwyn District Council and how it affects Halswell and Hornby, because we're at the boundary.
Yes, I know.
And so probably we can ask staff to come and brief us, because I understand what they briefed with the council before was just the initial stages, and there have been more developments since then. So
I guess what I'm saying as well is it'd be quite good to hear from Selwyn District Council directly as to what their plans are.
So you weren't wanting that
This is
as an
purely
action point, or-
purely information.
Yeah,
Purely
yeah,
information.
Purely information.
So
at this
I've
stage.
suggested we invite Selwyn District Council to come speak to the Residents Association. It could be that it would be useful briefing for us as well.
Good.
Or it may not,
Or
but
may not.
all in good time.
Okay.
Purely information. at
It's
this point.
certainly an issue, I think,
Have we-
going forward.
You haven't contacted them, emailed them?
It was a thought I had about an hour ago.
Oh.
Yeah.
How did I know that you'd be on the ball here, Andre?
So yeah, I think having the council association would be useful in the first instance.
Yeah.
Yep. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Mark?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First point is, can I suggest that limiting us to 2 points in this information exchange is not a nice idea, and the fact that we're now being instructed to push everything through the information exchange. We need to keep it open so that we can bring all the issues that we need to the table.
So have sort of you got 3 or 4?
I've got a nice little list here as normal.
Okay.
There's a lot happening.
I mean, it was just a thought I had to
No,
expedite the meeting.
I
So,
thought I'd try and set some scene on that because
okay,
I'm getting instructions to come through information exchange with everything. So
okay, that's fine.
So first
Go
of all,
ahead. Action. It's an action point.
this is a big thank you to various staff.
Yes.
It's really good to see the Kyle Park and Denton Park paths being resurfaced. That's something that the community and the councillor and resident association in Hornby have been screaming out for a very long time. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you too for the action that's now happening on Shan's Amy's intersection. It's really good to see the traffic signals being renewed out there, and looking forward to seeing the light pole put back in place as this proceeds. 18 months since Good Friday a year ago. It's a long time to have waited, so thank you for getting this underway and done. I've had a few concerns mentioned around the traps of late. One of them is the pedestrian crossing points at Chappie Place, just up from Wendy's, are not conducive to people in mobility scooters. I've got a chap who's in a mobility scooter and has been stuck on that, and the pedestrian crossing points there a couple of times, and that's incredibly dangerous when you're on Main South Road trying to get across a pedestrian signal and your wheelchair becomes grounded and actually can't move. So could we please have staff to take a look at that and see if we can get that improved so that the mobility people rely on that crossing, because there's no other way to get across to Countdown when you're trying to come up from the hub. That is your only crossing point.
So what would be the option? Is it quite simple or quite complex?
It could be complex. You're going to need to somehow lessen the angle of the change of grade from the footpath across the crossing point, so that the wheelchairs and mobility scooters don't get stuck. So you've got to flatten that somehow to make it accessible. Ideally, we'd like the crossing point across Carmen Road, so you wouldn't have to go that far to go around between the hub and Countdown, but it's a bigger part of the master plan to try and get that sorted there, I think. There's going to be a meeting on Monday with Hornby elected members. We're certainly all three of us are invited, and hopefully we'll be there to meet with Greater Hornby Residents Association Chair Kim Moss and the residents of Kathleen Crescent regarding the Denton Park trees. So we'll let you all know that meeting's happening. And as staff will be aware, I am asking to try and find some information if we can to get to that. So we'll see how we go. But we'll certainly have a listen to the concerns again and see what we can.
It's been going on a while.
It has been going on a while, and we're working actively to try and find a way through it. So there's been requests for some bike rack facilities around the Broomfield Yulhurst area. Jess will be familiar with this. I flipped through an email, and here I am duly bringing it up in the exchange. So basically, there's some bus stops on Masham Road, which people are needing to lock their bikes to light poles to catch the bus. And they're asking to see whether there's a way that we could possibly get some bike racks in a local park next door to see if they can find a way to encourage people to bring their bikes to the bus and then catch the bus into town. So I think that's a really, really good idea.
Is that an action point, Mark?
Yes, it is an action.
Can you just give me the location?
It's in Masham Road.
Masham Road and in an adjoining park.
Yeah, and Jess has got the email with the details
Okay.
of the location. So
Thank you.
there's even some photographs on it. So the guy was quite good in what he requested. So hopefully we can find a way to refer that into the system and get some advice on that. There's also been a request that came through today from Nicola Griggs MP's office around on Jasmac Boulevard and John Mackenzie Drive. There's Millicent's Way, and I'm not sure where the promise came from, but someone in time has promised a stop sign at that intersection onto Jasmac Boulevard, John Mackenzie's Drive and Millicent's Way. So if we could get some staff advice on whether there is a resolution that's been passed for a stop sign there, or whether historically somewhere in council there might have been mention of putting a stop sign there, or alternatively if there is none, then could we have some advice as to whether one is required there?
Can I suggest that perhaps look at the commission report from the commissioner that studied that road?
Consent.
Do you need Janet?
And
Jasmac.
he came up with a lot of resolutions in regards to that area that was unsafe. So that stop sign, I can't remember his name. Can you, Helen, the commissioner?
No, I wasn't. Sorry, well, sorry, I was watching this. I'm sorry.
The commissioner that was looking at that area with the unsafe road, Mike would remember, but there was a big report talking about how one of the roads was particularly unsafe. And so that may have been where it stemmed from. But I'm
Interesting
just,
intersection. In fact, that it's right where Jasmac Boulevard turns into Sir John Mackenzie Drive.
yeah, so it might have stemmed from there. I'm not sure.
Cool. Then I've got another couple of tree issues.
Was it an action point, the other one?
Yeah, that was an action point.
Oh, so Jasmac Boulevard, John Mackenzie Drive, Millicent Way intersection.
Yep.
Request staff advice on whether a stop sign is proposed to be inserted or whether it is possible.
And to see if it stemmed from that commissioner's report. Now, that would have been about 7-8 years ago.
Yeah, just want to run the ground what the story is.
But no, it wasn't a hearing. It was when the commissioner was brought in because of what the design of the road. I need to be careful what I say because we're being live streamed. So yeah, there was a big outcome from it, and we had to appoint a commissioner on that road. And there was some resolutions that he made. There will be a record of that somewhere.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good history there, Deb. You're still here. Another thing was I firstly want to thank staff. I've heard through the Hornby Residents Association chairperson's report that a new piece of footpath and shared path is to be installed on Wilmers Road. And I was a little bit taken back of that news because as a board, I don't think we were aware of it.
How'd you get that?
I think it's a good idea. They're putting in a path there to join up the existing path through from the stormwater basins and so forth around Warren Park and that area through to the motorway. That's really good. The interesting thing there was, I'm not sure what the priority setting was around getting that put in place, because there is another request at the far end of Wilmers Road on Awatea, where residents have about 10 or 12 residents in a new subdivision have got no footpath connection to Awatea Road. They're having to walk through a ditch full of grass.
Imagine it.
Yeah, just like
Imagine.
a lot of yours, Patch and Hallswell. So could we have some advice as to how we can get the priority setting on that a little bit more?
Road.
Well, the path you say that at the other end that is being done, what is that a developer that's doing it? Like,
no,
Which end?
down by Meadows Mushrooms in the
Oh,
fire
it's being
station.
done.
It's being done.
Wonder who's doing that.
Well, I believe we are as council. There was mention that might be being done through development contributions. But
So which road, Mark?
which would make sense.
Wilmers Road.
Wilmers, could you check?
It's an interesting piece because there's no residents down there at all.
But is the development to go in
Part
there?
of Wilmer's Road?
Down by
Is-
Meadow
the
Mushrooms.
Because if I remember correctly, I think that is, I may be wrong, but my last recollection was there was a road stoppage before because it's a Meadow Mushrooms property.
Right. Yeah.
They might have put it on.
Yeah. So there's that piece of footpath, shared path going in, which is really good. But I'd like to check on the priority setting as to why that jumped the queue in the place where people are actually residing that can't get to a footpath.
It must be a different funding mechanism because in the grand scheme of things, there is a $0 budget for new footpaths.
Would it have any developments going on the corner?
Well, I would have hoped that we would have been able to put in the footpath that's missing for the development on adjacent to Awatea at the same time as the new developments going on the opposite side of the road. But I'd really like to understand the priorities around that, so that would be useful.
You've got a long list.
I have. Busy place in Hornby, tell you. And I think Jess will be aware as well that I've got a request for the arborist to potentially come and visit Hornby to have a look at a number of tree issues that we've got with trees that are causing nuisance and health issues and problems to residents in the area. So I'll leave that with you to work on. Thank you, team.
Thank you. And I've got a couple of comments. Does anyone?
Oh, I'm just
Phoebe, you go first.
just sharing really no action points. Just said I'm continuing with my research in regards to the chlorination issue. And also just continuing to work on the connectivity in the area with varying groups. And with spring and summer being here, it's a great opportunity to be doing that.
Feels better, doesn't it, already from winter?
That's all from me, so I handed my share over to Mark.
I've got an issue that I'm struggling to find. Andre, I and Marie went to a Halswell meeting and it was very lively. I haven't been to such a concerned meeting for a long time. Andrew Routledge, I've got the right name, Parks manager was chairing it.
Napunawai.
Yeah, and it was around the sort of access issues at Napunawai. And the residents were, I'd say, upset, to say the least. I subsequently got an email, so I'll take, and I've sent it through, I think, to you, Faye, but I'm struggling to find it. So it's basically to have a look at McMahon exit, which I think Mark told me won't be allowed because it's been through a commissioner.
That's right.
But they're concerned about the access, the lack of traffic management for a particularly big event. The fact that no one was on site from council when they had trouble. So there's a number of things there I'll send through for us to look at. Andre, have you got any comments about that?
I'd just sort of point out that the first step really has to be opening up that Wigham Road
That's
entrance.
right. Do you have an ETA on that?
Well, it's mid next year to be done by. So still some way away, but it's getting done. That's the key thing.
Start of winter.
Well, before that is what we've been told. Don't have a specific date. It'll also depend on what design they end up landing on too. But if we opened up a McMahon Drive entrance, that would encourage people coming from, say, Prebbleton to come through a residential Aidenfield area. Whereas actually, we want them using Wickham Road and going through that entrance. So we'd have to be very, very, very careful before starting to talk about a McMahon Drive entrance.
That's why they come.
But yeah, first step is opening up and focusing on Wickham Road and seeing how it goes. The parking issues, again, we would hope that the new car parks help resolve that. But there are other overflow areas. And if it turns out that all the car parks are full pretty quickly, well, then we need to start looking at making those overflow areas permanent, you might think. There's at least there's the land for it. So I've also met with Canterbury Rugby League today. Of course, one of the large events that had a lot of parking issues was Grand Final Day. And they want to look at ideas for in future, whether it's different forms of communication, whether it's, making sure those communications go out to the clubs. Hey, it's going to be a busy day. There may be limited parking. Encourage you to carpool, whatever it might be. Or these are the areas to park in. Don't park over berms. Don't park over driveways, or you might get towed. So they want to make things work. The car parks coming along will be useful. So will that new entrance. But it could be that it's going to require more capital investment for more parks in the facility. It could well be that.
I find a lot of people already like parking even down my street when there's a major event on. And I think the reason for that is because they want quick access out.
Makes sense.
It's easy to walk out, get in your car and go because of the limited one entrance at the moment.
Okay, so we'll look at this a bit more, Mark.
Might be some good feedback to pass back to Canterbury Rugby League.
Yeah.
That the Panthers thought ahead of this and they actually put passes on from the Panthers club rooms, which was really good thinking. If they could encourage their finals teams in clubs to put on the same service for their supporters, I think that'd be a really positive move.
I think everyone felt it was a wonderful facility. It's just that they were having the parking issues.
And
it's a lovely facility.
So if we had two sort of big events and parking issues that stem from them just before the Netball Centre is coming online. So it's naturally made residents a lot more anxious and nervous than they already were. So the timing hasn't been good in that regard. But council staff has said that for next big events, they will have someone on site to see how it's all going.
It was quite a feisty meeting, basically.
I can imagine.
But the really
they were like old board meetings.
One of those for a long time.
The really important point that was raised by residents at the end of it is, just by the way, we absolutely love this facility.
Yes,
we love having
students.
The place is beautiful. It's absolutely brilliant. But it'd be good to be on top of the issues. So that was really good to have at the end of that meeting.
One last thing I should enlighten everybody about was I've put a request through to Environment Canterbury through one of the councillors to try and get some adjustments to bus routes.
Imagine that.
So, that letter's gone as well. So we haven't heard back yet, have we?
The adjustments I've asked for is to see if we can't get something like the 125 or the 130 or something of the nature to go past the Matatiki Hornby Centre before it opens, or when it opens, so that we can have people actually be able to get to and from there on public transport. Would be a great idea.
Would.
Or and the other one is Sir John Mackenzie Drive in Yordhurst Park. There are bus stops on that road, as Debbie will be well aware of, and there are no buses that run up on those bus stops. So the residents in that area are asking, can we please have some alteration to bus routes to bring us a bus? So again, I've said maybe the 125 or the 130 could be a good option to carry on and bypass into Yordhurst Park.
Well, the plan, as I understood it, was to review those at the same time as the 7, which would be the ideal thing to do.
So we need to, I think, keep pressure on Environment Canterbury to try and get our bus routes where we need them.
Yes, we do it.
So that we can actually, Andre's got classic ones in Halswell where people have to walk far too far to get to a bus. So we need to, as a board, maybe we need to.
When I've got two within 20 metres.
So
I've got two bus stops, two routes.
I spoke to Halswell Scouts the other day. One of them made the point to me, the number 7 Halswell bus doesn't actually go to Halswell. Because the original area of Halswell is about 1 kilometre away from the nearest bus to town. And It's a very, very good point. I hadn't even considered.
Yeah.
And they're right. The 7 Hills barely even goes to Halswell.
Where's the end?
Well, it goes through, past the supermarket and through Longhurst.
Mm.
But the original area of Halswell doesn't get anywhere near it.
No.
So there's no bus to town from Halswell.
It may be,
How about that?
it may be we do it.
Crazy.
Maybe we do a deputation.
No, so there's no bus to the library.
Well, there's a bus that goes near there.
Now,
But the original area of Halswell, like around Halswell School, that's the original Halswell area.
It's the village.
Nowhere near a bus to town.
I'm
Crazy, right?
sorry, I'm going to have to move on because we do have a public excluded item. I'll ask any public to leave. We've got, sorry?
Sarah or Gamar.
Oh, okay.
Sarah's fine.
Thank you.
They're fine.
Sarah,
Okay.
are you okay or you?
We need
Have an item.
Yes. Happy to move.
We're fine. We don't have any.
You're fine. Okay,
Is
thank
the
you.
declaration of interest coming first?
So,
For the public.
thank you. So I'll move that we move to public excluded.
Happy to second.
Seconded. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against?